Welcome to this installment of the EMR instructional video, Accuro Encounter Notes section. This video was developed by the WRHA CSIS team in coordination with EMR users. This video is meant as reference material regarding the functionality of the EMR. Examples provided during this demonstration cover various workflows and should not replace any on-the-job instruction provided by on-site supervisors, managers, or directors. During this session, the following topics will be covered: an overview of the Encounter Notes section, how to add, how to lock and mask, preview an encounter note, copying lab results into a clinical note, using the copyable history and inserting the medical history into a clinical note. Encounter notes are found in the EMR section of Accuro. This is where all of the clinical documentation occurs. Encounter notes may also be referred to as either initial progress notes or simply progress notes. An encounter note itself could be a blank template, or users have the option to import a pre-populated template where clinical information can be recorded. At the top of the EMR section, there are a number of tabs. The second tab is the Encounter Notes. The Encounter Notes tab is broken down into three parts on the left-hand side, which displays both past and future appointment history for the particular patient. On the right-hand side, there are medical history bands. These are covered in different videos. Lastly, the middle is the clinical notes area. This area has been designed for both clinical notes as well as forms. To find the note template of interest, use the drop-down menu. To add a blank encounter note or blank template, select the drop-down arrow at the top of the clinical notes section of EMR. This opens up the notes and forms available to all users. This list can be personalized for each user to limit the number of visible forms in the drop-down list. If you select the Edit button at the bottom of the page, a window will pop up that has two columns. On the left, Visible Templates. These are the templates you will find in your current drop-down list. On the right, Hidden Templates. These are the templates not visible on your current drop-down list. It is very important to remember that any notes or forms that you move to the hidden column can no longer be accessible unless they are moved back into the visible template column. On the left side of this drop-down contains a multitude of options for note templates. For this example, we are going to add a blank encounter note. To begin, you can locate the blank encounter note by either scrolling down to select Encounter Note, or you can use the template search at the bottom of the drop-down to type in the note or form you are seeking. The Encounter Note template will open, which is a blank page broken up into three sections. Top section, where the user will enter the written note. Middle section, where the user can determine the title of the note, the type of note, the date of service or date of service in the note is linked to, and the provider. Please do not attach a diagnosis. It is recommended that users follow the guidelines within each individual program for titling to ensure consistency across programs and accessibility within the virtual chart. Bottom section. Here the provider has access to either view or enter medical history information, so they do not need to leave this screen during an appointment encounter. Any information entered here will populate the appropriate subsection in the medical history section. Caution: by default, when entering an encounter note, your name should appear in the provider drop-down list. If an alternate provider is selected within the daysheet, this setting will default to that provider. It is always important to ensure your name appears as the provider. If not, select the down arrow and select your name. There are a few other buttons located below the blank form. The M to F button changed under gender from male to female within the note, and important, this only works one way from male to female and is designed to be used with macros. The Gen Letter button is used to generate letters from the clinical note within a patient chart. This function of the EMR is more advanced and is available through other EMR training videos. Once completed, click on the Save button to save and leave open, or select OK to save and close. This note will be found at the top of the Encounter Note page. Adding your signature to a note can be set up as a quick function by hitting F12. You will first be required to set up your signature macro. Select the Akiro target from the bottom side of the screen. Select File. Select User Preferences. Select Display on the left-hand side panel. Select the Display tab on the top. At the top of the page in text field, you can complete your signature and input your credentials. Once completed, select Apply and OK. All users must be aware that when the encounter field is open and there is no information being transferred back to the server, the system is designed to time out and log off after 30 minutes of inactivity or lack of information transfer from Akiro to the server. If an encounter note was open during that time, an autosave has been developed and the encounter note will be saved within the patient's chart. However, the title of that note will be automatically changed to Autosaved on close, and the default type will be noted as letter. To obtain the Autosaved encounter note under the Notes section, within the Encounter Notes tab of the EMR, double-click on the note you would like to open. Once opened, go into the title field and type over the Autosave title to the appropriate title per program practice. Once completed, click on the Save button to save and leave open, or select OK to save and close. Templates are available to all users. These templates have been created to assist in the documentation process. Some templates use macros, whereby information can be pulled from the patient record to auto-populate data. Or, templates may include macros whereby the provider can select answers to certain questions. Some templates have preset selections built in. The user would select the appropriate response by double-clicking on each appropriate response. When a response requires multiple selections, a single click on each response will highlight them yellow. When the last response for that section is selected, you double-click and all of your selections will remain visible. Users also have the ability to create their own personalized macro templates within EMR. This is reviewed in a more advanced EMR training video. Users have the option to lock clinical notes. This is a recommended practice that all users are encouraged to adopt. Locking a clinical note can be done once the user's documentation is complete. This is achieved by right-clicking on the note you wish to lock, select the Lock option. A pop-up screen reminding you locked encounter notes cannot be edited will appear. If you are confident your encounter note is complete, select Yes to continue. If you realize you forgot to add information to an encounter note, or you have information relevant to an encounter note already on file, you have the option of adding an addendum to the encounter note. This is accomplished by selecting the note you wish to add to. Right-click and select Attach Note. A new window will open where you will have the ability to add your free text. Once you have added your information, select OK. The addendum is found within the encounter note. Double-click on the encounter note, the original encounter will open, and you will note a red exclamation icon at the bottom right of the screen. When you click on this button, the information added will appear in a small window. The details will include the date, time, and who wrote the addendum. Another option in this example is to create another encounter note to capture the new information and reference the original encounter note. Another way to view clinical notes or encounter notes without opening them is by clicking on the magnifying glass found in the top right-hand corner of each note. This will bring up a yellow preview box displaying all of the information contained within. This includes any addendums that may have been added. There may be times when a client does not want all providers to have access to certain information contained in their electronic chart within the EMR. To hide information, you can use the feature called masking. Masking of encounter notes can be applied in the EMR section on the Encounter Notes tab. Point the mouse to the item you wish to mask. From the keyboard, hold down the Alt key and click the left mouse button on the note. A Configure Mask window will open. Click in the Masked checkbox to turn on the masking. Within that window, it will identify the individual it was masked by, as well as the date and time stamp associated with the mask. There is also a section for notes. If a user wants to indicate the reason for the mask, it can be done within this field. Once completed, click OK to save the change and the window will close. Once an encounter note has been masked, a blue triangle will appear on the top left-hand corner. Likewise, users who were not given read access to this information will see masked on the top of the hidden service. Clinical notes cannot be deleted. If a note has been written in error, the user who wrote the note should identify the title of the note as entered in error. The following process is recommended to ensure a note entered in error is clearly identified as an error. From the EMR section of Akiro within the Encounter Notes tab, open the note which was entered in error by double-clicking on it. Highlight the note, then select Strike Through icon, which is a button on the top of the clinical note. By the different font options, the icon is identified with an S with a line through it. This will make the text highlighted appear with a single strike through. Type within the body of the note, note entered in error, then mark with the date, time, and your name by selecting F12 or using your signature macro. For more information on signature macro, there is additional training video called Akiro Macros. Select OK to save and close the note. I hope you found this module on the Akiro Encounter Notes helpful. For any questions or clarifications, please contact csis_support@wrha.mb.ca.